Hello fellow whiskey sippers, we're going to have another farewell Friday saying goodbye to another loved one. MB Roland. I'm just going to jump into this. So the bottle's empty. I've already poured it. It's sitting behind me. I already know that this opens up a little bit and gets a little bit better with a little bit of time in the glass. So, MB Roland. Pretty new distillery, craft distillery, and I think maybe I've mentioned what I don't like about craft, that name craft distillery before, but so everything they do is in-house. They don't source anything, which is pretty good. Not that there's anything wrong with sourced whiskey, as long as they're honest on the label. And let's face it, I think most bottlers are pretty honest about that, but sometimes not so much. Anyway, back to MB Roland. So established 2009, so they're pretty new to the game. They're doing everything that they do. They're doing it themselves. So this one is their Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey, batch 50. There are other batches. So the label says that it's still and barrel proof, so it's uncut, unfiltered, right out of the cask, which is pretty good. So now it is a young whiskey. It's a age statement, at least 2 years old, because it's straight bourbon whiskey, so it's got to be 2. But it comes in at 55.8% ABV. For those that don't want to do the math, that's 111.6 proof. It's pretty good. So on a trip home, I stopped into a liquor store that had a pretty interesting name that made me stop. And looking around, just because I'm sure like all of you, you go on a road trip, you compare what you see at home versus what you see wherever else, right? So I had never seen this before, and looked at it because it's kind of a cool old-timey looking label, I think. So I went, oh, okay, I've never heard of this, but there was something lingering. I had seen this. I had seen a sign for this on the interstate for an exit. It's in Pembroke, Kentucky. Anyway, so I went, hey, this is pretty interesting. It's okay. Yes, it's young, but it's at cask strength. It's a 55%. It was $45. So I'm like, you know what? I'll roll the dice for that. 45 bucks for a 55%er? Yeah, that's good math right there. And loved it. Absolutely, it was fantastic. Neck poured down. Now, it didn't last long. I'm just gonna be honest. It did not last long, and it did get a little bit more heat the longer they're towards the end of the bottle. Nothing really bad. So I don't know how much better this would get if it could stay open for, I don't know, if I could stand it for a month or more. It didn't last that long. Anyway, mash bill. It's on the front of the label here. So it's 78% white corn, 19% rye, and 5% malt. And I'm assuming that's malted barley. Don't know that for sure, but that's what the label says. So I have this behind me, and atop it is Roy's new coin that I just got today. Thank you, Roy. So at 55%, yes, you do get a little bit of alcohol on this, but not as much as you would think you would get at a 55% ABV. But once this calms down in the glass a little bit, there's some sweetness there, there's some barrel notes, classic bourbon. It smells like it should. To me, it doesn't necessarily smell like a real young spirit. That's just me. Could be different for you. Anyway, let's go in for a taste. Cheers. So I'm going to admit that I've had an interruption or two. So this has had a little more time to sit in the glass, and it has gotten that much better. Now that it's sat for half hour, 40 minutes, quite a bit more oak, a bit more sweetness, maybe cherry kind of sweetness. Alcohol gone. No, none of that young smell at all. Not that there was a whole lot of it to begin with. You wouldn't know the taste because I don't have much left. So as it sits, it's almost creamy. It's for a mouthfeel. There's an awesome bit of oak and sweetness that just kind of burst in your mouth. Absolutely fantastic. And I know at 5% malt it shouldn't be, but to me there's a bit of a maltiness to this. Maybe that's part of what I like about that, because I really like malty whiskeys anyway. So in the end, would I replace this? Absolutely, I did. I actually went back through about 2 more of that same batch, and then I went to another store and bought two more of different batches. So I have 2 more bottles of batch 50, and then a bottle of 56 and a bottle of 42. And they're both coming around rather nicely. Not quite as good. Either one of them were as good as the initial neck pour on the batch 50, but they're getting there. So, if you find this in your local retailer, I'd say go for it. It ain't gonna hurt you. Well, it could hurt you because it's way friendlier than it probably needs to be at a 55. Now the other ones were in that same range, mid 50s. I think one was a 42, or not a 42, a 50, maybe a 54, and maybe the other one was a 56%. I don't know. We're not talking about them. We're talking about batch 50. Same mash bill, same everything. Different batch size, obviously, because it tells you how many. This was 301 out of 465. Anyway, back down to it. So this is the end of this bottle, but I have more. That being said, if you find it, buy it. I believe you'll like it. It's cask strength. I mean, how do you not like cask strength stuff, right? That's why we drink whiskey. So cheers and all that good YouTube stuff. Thanks for hanging out, and cheers, and catch you next time. I might open my other one.